November is National Epilepsy Awareness Month, and you know we here at Coastal Living love raising awareness for these types of topics. Now with us today to teach us more about epilepsy and help raise awareness is Dr. Drew Thodeson. He is a neurologist at Driscoll Children's Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Clarissa.
Of course. Well, let's start with, what is National Epilepsy Awareness Month all about?
Well, National Epilepsy Awareness Month was really created to bring awareness to a very common neurological disease. Epilepsy is the third or fourth most common neurological disease that affects people. There's over 3 million Americans with epilepsy, and 500,000 of them are children. There's a large stigma that's associated to the disease to this day. Up into the 80s, people with epilepsy weren't able to marry. And up into the 90s, they were discriminated in the workplace against. Unfortunately, to this day, about 60% of patients with epilepsy, we can find no known cause. And so the saying goes, if you have a brain, you can have a seizure. And indeed, 1 out of 10 people in their lifetime will suffer a seizure, and 1 in 26 will develop epilepsy.
Wow, very, very interesting. Something I thought might just be genetic. There's obviously a lot more to it. So I've had a little bit of a misconception about epilepsy. So what are some other ones we might want to be aware of in respect to someone who may have epilepsy? And what can someone with epilepsy do to manage that disease?
Any physiological stress on the body really can cause an epileptic seizure to come out, whether it's emotional stress, whether that stress is from a surgery or an illness or something like that. That can also be triggers to epilepsy. The trigger you're talking about, like maybe people knew about this with the Pokemon movie that came out many years ago that caused multiple children to have epileptic seizures, are actually rarer than those other triggers that I talked about.
Now, before we go, I think it's important to let our friends at home know what to do in the event that you are with someone and they experience an epileptic episode.
Yes, if someone has an epileptic seizure and you are there, the important thing to do is remain calm. So check your own pulse first, take a deep breath, and then the next most important thing to do is to make sure the person who's having the epileptic seizure is safe. So you want to put them on their side. You want to move things away from their back and their head so that they're not hitting those things as they are, if they're having a convulsive seizure. You want to make sure you don't put anything in their mouth. Patients with epilepsy will not swallow their tongue. They're more likely to bite off your finger and then swallow that. So don't put anything in their mouth.
Okay.
And time the seizure. If a seizure, most seizures, 99% of seizures, will only last 1, 2, 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, this has been informative, and I still feel like there's so much to learn. Is there anything else you feel that we should take away from this talk?
Yes, if you're interested in learning more about epilepsy, please go to the Epilepsy Foundation website. It's www.epilepsy.com. They do teaching for schools. They do seizure first aid that goes into much more depth than we were able to go through today, Clarissa. And they host events, fundraising events to help sponsor much needed research in the field.
Wonderful. Well, I'm honored that we even have the opportunity to help raise awareness. I learned so much in just this few minutes, and there is more to learn. So I appreciate you sharing that website and your time with us. Dr. Thodeson, thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thanks, Clarissa.